The hum of vacuum cleaners and the occasional squeak of a mop against polished floors were the soundtrack of Ray's life. A janitor at SpaceX, Ray Jenkins wasn't anyone special, at least not in the eyes of those who hurried past him, engrossed in their engineering schematics and coded jargon. To them, Ray was just the guy with the mop, someone who worked tirelessly to keep their state-of-the-art facility gleaming. But Ray had a secret eye in the quiet hours of his shift. When the last of the engineers had left for the day, Ray would slip into the corner of the break room with a battered notebook. Its cover, worn and creased, bore grease stains and faint outlines of coffee rings, evidence of countless nights of scribbling. Inside, the pages overflowed with intricate sketches of engines, propulsion systems, and what he imagined were the next big ideas for space travel. Ray had always been fascinated by the stars. As a boy, he would lie on the roof of his parents' modest home, dreaming of distant galaxies. But life had other plans. Financial hardships and family responsibilities had forced him to set aside his aspirations of becoming an engineer. The closest he'd ever gotten to the cosmos was mopping the floors of SpaceX's headquarters. Still, Ray's passion for innovation hadn't dimmed. Each sketch was a testament to his love for problem-solving, his way of reaching for the stars from the ground. One evening, as he emptied the trash in a conference room, Ray caught snippets of a heated discussion. Words like engine inefficiency and fuel optimization floated through the air. His pulse quickened. He had sketched solutions to similar problems just last week. But what could he do? He was just the janitor. As he closed the conference room door, he couldn't help but wonder if his ideas, buried in the pages of his notebook, could ever mean something. His hands lingered on the door frame for a moment longer than necessary, his mind racing. Unbeknownst to Ray, this seemingly ordinary night was the beginning of a journey that would change his life forever. The stars weren't as far out of reach as he'd thought. Chapter 2. The serendipitous encounter. The hum of voices filled the corridor as Ray wheeled his cleaning cart toward the main conference room. It was a rare night when engineers worked late, and tonight the air crackled with urgency. As he approached the glass-walled room, he noticed a group of SpaceX brightest minds gathered around a large monitor, their faces etched with frustration. Through the slightly ajar door, Ray overheard snippets of their conversation. The fuel intake module isn't stabilizing under increased thrust. We've run simulations all day and nothing works. If we can't fix this, the launch delay could cost millions. Ray froze. The problem they were discussing sounded eerily similar to one he'd scribbled about in his notebook just weeks ago. His pulse quickened as he hesitated by the door. What if his idea could help? Heart pounding, Ray reached into his cart and pulled out his notebook. Flipping hurriedly through its pages, he found the sketch and adjustment to the intake module that he believed could solve inefficiencies under high thrust. But could he really approach them? Summoning every ounce of courage, Ray knocked lightly on the door. The room fell silent as heads turned toward him, their expressions a mix of confusion and impatience. I overheard the issue, and, well, I might have an idea. A tall engineer with glasses, whose badge read H. Carter arched an eyebrow. An idea? He repeated, skeptical. Yes, sir, Ray replied, stepping into the room. He opened his notebook and placed it on the table, pointing to the diagram. This adjustment might improve the intake module's stability. I've been thinking about it for a while. Carter and the others exchanged glances. One of them chuckled under his breath. You're the janitor, right? Ray nodded, his face burning with embarrassment. I am, but I've studied engineering on my own, and I think this might work. Carter leaned forward, scrutinizing the sketch. For a moment, the room was silent, save for the scribble of a pen as Carter copied the diagram onto a notepad. Finally, he looked up, his expression unreadable. "This is interesting," he said slowly, "but we'll need to test it." Ray's heart soared, but doubt still lingered. Would they take him seriously? As he left the room, he couldn't shake the mixture of hope and uncertainty. The wheels were set in motion, but the question remained, would they trust a janitor's idea to save their mission? Chapter 3. The Hidden Genius. The next day, Ray found himself standing in the back corner of the SpaceX test lab, a place he'd only glimpsed from afar. His notebook sketch had piqued enough curiosity to warrant an experiment, though skepticism still clouded the air. "All right, let's see if this janitor's miracle tweak can do what he claims," muttered one engineer under his breath. Ray pretended not to hear, but the sting of doubt gnawed at him. Carter, the only one who had taken Ray seriously, began assembling a team to simulate the proposed changes. "We'll adjust the intake module based on Ray's sketch," Carter instructed, his voice steady but curious. "If it works, great. If not, we move on." As the engineers worked, Ray observed quietly, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. For the first time, he wasn't pushing a mop or emptying trash bins. Instead, he stood among some of the brightest minds in aerospace, his idea taking physical shape. But as the simulation began, doubts crept in. Was his adjustment too simplistic? Had he overlooked something critical? The hum of machinery filled the room as data streamed across screens, every number scrutinized by a room full of doubters. "Pressure levels are stabilizing," Carter announced, his voice tinged with surprise. Ray's breath caught. The adjustment was holding up. He allowed himself a small smile, but the test wasn't over yet. "Thrust to maximum," Carter ordered. The room tensed as the simulated engine roared. For a moment, everything seemed fine, then a sudden fluctuation in the data caused murmurs to ripple through the lab. "It's going to fail," someone muttered. Ray's stomach dropped, but Carter held up a hand. "Wait." The fluctuation stabilized, and the system corrected itself. The engine's performance exceeded baseline parameters, achieving a level of efficiency the team had been chasing for months. "Impossible," one engineer whispered, staring at the data. Ray couldn't help but grin, his chest swelling with pride. But just as he allowed himself to bask in the moment, the murmurs began again. "Sure, it worked in simulation," someone said, "but can we trust it in the real world?" Carter turned to Ray. "This is impressive, but we need more than numbers on a screen. We'll test it on an actual module." Ray nodded, his nerves returning. A real-world test meant greater risks and greater rewards. ASS. The team began preparations. A voice interrupted. "Carter, update Musk on our progress," an engineer said. Ray's head snapped up. Musk? Would Elon Musk hear about his idea? Carter glanced at Ray, his expression unreadable. "Not yet," he replied. "Let's see how it performs in the field first." Ray's heart sank and soared in equal measure. The idea had succeeded, but the true test and the chance to catch Elon Musk's attention was still ahead. Chapter 4. A meeting with Elon Musk. The test lab buzzed with excitement as engineers gathered around the prototype module. After weeks of adjustments, it was ready for a real-world trial. Carter, wearing a rare grin, clapped Ray on the shoulder. "If this works in the field, Ray, I'm taking this straight to Musk," he said. Ray nodded, his heart pounding. The thought of meeting Elon Musk felt surreal, but the idea that his work might actually matter fueled his nerves. Hours later, the test was complete. The adjusted intake module had not only passed, but had exceeded every performance metric. The team, initially skeptical, now murmured with a mix of admiration and disbelief. "This could change everything," Carter said, his voice hushed as he typed out a summary report. Minutes later, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, looked up at Ray. "Musk wants to see us." Now, Ray's breath hitched. "Me? Are you sure?" Carter nodded, already walking toward the elevator. "You're the man behind the idea. Let's go." In the sleek executive office, Elon Musk stood with his back to them, staring at a massive screen displaying the test results. He turned slowly, his piercing gaze landing on Ray. "So," Musk began, his tone measured, "you're the janitor who solved the intake module problem?" Ray's throat went dry. "Yes, sir. I just had an idea." Musk stepped closer, studying him intently. "An idea," he repeated, then gestured toward the screen. "This idea just saved us months of work and millions of dollars. How did you think of it?" Ray swallowed hard. "I've always been fascinated by engineering. I sketch ideas in my free time, and when I overheard the issue, I thought maybe I could help." Musk raised an eyebrow. "Help? Ray, this isn't just help. This is innovation." For a moment, silence hung in the air as Musk studied the test results again. Then, with a faint smile, he turned to Carter. "Put Ray on the team for the next phase. I want his perspective in the room." Ray's eyes widened. "On the team? But I'm just not anymore," Musk interrupted. "Talent is talent, no matter where it's found." As the meeting ended, Musk shook Ray's hand firmly. "You've got potential, Ray. Don't waste it." Walking out of the office, Ray felt a surge of emotions, relief, excitement, and disbelief. Musk's words echoed in his mind, but one question lingered. Was he ready for this life-changing opportunity? The stars seemed closer than ever. Chapter 5. The turning point. Ray's world turned upside down overnight. The day after his meeting with Elon Musk, Ray reported for work, not to mop floors, but to sit in on a high-level engineering briefing. At first, he felt out of place among the rows of monitors, technical blueprints, and a team of engineers who now addressed him by name. "Ray," Carter said, handing him a stack of documents. "We need you to explain your thought process so we can refine it further." For the first time, Ray wasn't an invisible worker in the background. He was in the room, his opinions sought and valued. Though his hands trembled slightly as he spoke, the team listened intently, nodding as he explained the intricate adjustments he'd proposed. Over the next weeks, Ray's design became the cornerstone of a critical SpaceX project, a prototype engine enhancement slated for an upcoming mission. Word spread quickly within the company, and soon his presence became a source of curiosity and inspiration. Engineers who had once dismissed him now approached him for advice, treating him as an equal. "You've got a knack for this," one engineer admitted, patting him on the back. "Glad you're on board." The project's success didn't stay within SpaceX walls for long. When news of the breakthrough leaked to the media, Ray's story became a sensation. "Janitor turned innovator, helps SpaceX reach new heights," declared one headline. Reporters clamored for interviews, eager to know how a janitor with no formal engineering degree had managed to outthink seasoned professionals. Though overwhelmed, Ray handled the attention with humility, always quick to credit the team and Elon Musk for giving him a chance. For Ray, the transformation wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal. He no longer doubted himself when walking into a room full of engineers. The timid, hesitant man who had once feared speaking up was now a confident innovator with ideas that commanded respect. His desk, a modest corner of the lab, became his sanctuary, filled with sketches, notes, and prototypes for new ideas. A T home. His modest apartment underwent a transformation too. No longer was it just a place to sleep after long shifts. It became a workshop where he tinkered, dreamed, and built. His family, once skeptical of his obsession with engineering, now beamed with pride every time his name appeared in the news. But perhaps the most profound change was in how Ray saw himself. He wasn't just a janitor with big dreams anymore. He was a man who had proven that talent and determination could break through any barrier. One evening, after weeks of intense work, Ray attended a company-wide event celebrating the project's success. Elon Musk himself took the stage to speak. Every now and then, Musk began, "We're reminded that innovation doesn't always come from where we expect. Ray is proof that brilliance can be found in the most unexpected places." The room erupted into applause as Musk gestured for Ray to join him on stage. Standing under the spotlight, Ray felt a wave of emotion. Gratitude, pride, and hope swirled within him as he addressed the audience. "If there's one thing I've learned," he said, his voice steady, "it's that no dream is too big and no person too small to make a difference." The ovation that followed wasn't just for his words, it was for his journey, one that had only just begun. Chapter 6. The legacy. Years passed, and Ray's name became synonymous with innovation and perseverance. What began as a humble janitor's dream had evolved into a legacy that reshaped not just SpaceX, but the aerospace industry itself. Ray's design proved to be a game changer, enhancing efficiency and reducing costs across multiple SpaceX missions. His innovation became a standard component in rocket engineering, adopted not only by SpaceX, but by other companies striving to keep up. Aerospace journals wrote extensively about the Ray adjustment, a nod to the man who had defied the odds to leave an indelible mark on space exploration. But for Ray, his greatest joy wasn't the fame or the accolades, it was the chance to inspire others. He became a mentor at SpaceX, working closely with young engineers and interns, sharing his story and encouraging them to think beyond their limitations. "Ideas don't care where they come from," he would often say, echoing the lesson that had changed his life. Ray also took an active role in SpaceX's outreach programs, visiting schools and community centers to talk about his journey. In his speeches, he emphasized the importance of curiosity, persistence, and the courage to speak up. "You don't need a degree to dream," he'd tell wide-eyed students. "You just need determination and the willingness to try." Despite his growing responsibilities, Ray never stopped innovating. His desk in the SpaceX lab remained cluttered with sketches and prototypes, and his colleagues often joked that his mind seemed to operate in overdrive. One of his later designs, a cost-effective cooling system for spacecraft, earned him another wave of recognition, further cementing his reputation as a leading figure in the industry. Outside of work, Ray's life also transformed. He moved his family to a comfortable home, ensuring his children had access to the education he never had. His story brought them immense pride, and his achievements inspired them to pursue their own dreams without hesitation. One sunny afternoon, years after his first breakthrough, Ray found himself back in the janitor's closet, where it all began. Though the broom and mop were long gone, the room still held the quiet echoes of his past. He pulled out a small notebook from a drawer, the very one he used to scribble his first sketches. Flipping through its pages, he marveled at how far he'd come. The once dismissed doodles were now symbols of a life transformed. Elon Musk entered the room, a rare moment of downtime allowing him to reflect alongside Ray. "Still visiting your old stomping grounds?" Musk asked with a grin. Ray chuckled. "It reminds me of where I started. Keeps me grounded." Musk nodded. "You've come a long way, Ray. But what's next? Ray smiled, closing the notebook. Space isn't done inspiring us yet. Neither am I. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ray stepped outside and looked up at the sky. The stars, once distant and unreachable, now felt closer than ever. And with them came the promise that anyone, no matter where they began, could leave their mark among them.